I know I said after my albums video that I could finally look ahead towards 2023. I could stop with the 2022 content. Coulda, shoulda, woulda though, because the 2022 content's back. But I already had this video in the back of my mind, and after some DMs and comments asking about other music I listened to this year, I figured why not? So I now present to you everything else I liked in 2022, aka all my favorite non-country music, because although I pretty much exclusively cover country music on this channel, my listening habits are pretty diverse. This is in no particular order, but I did leave the best for last, so don't click off too early. I'm not going to be able to give in-depth explanation on every single pick here. It's a mix of albums and songs from all sorts of genres. It's just everything else I liked in 2022. What were you listening to in January if it wasn't The Weeknd's Dawn FM? I remember when this album dropped, it was borderline divisive. Some people didn't like it because it wasn't as dark as Beauty Behind the Madness or After Hours, which yes, but that's why we have those albums, because you know what we didn't have before? Dawn FM. This album was literally my soundtrack to 2022. It practically owned the legal rights to my Apple Music replay this year. Just how can you not love Dawn FM? Working on me, baby. So much drama. Sticking with the toxic male R&B, I really enjoyed Giveon's latest project, Give or Take. I actually got the chance to see him live with some friends. That was really cool. He's a great performer live. And even though I feel basic picking one of the singles, Lie Again was by far my favorite from that album. Let's just stick with the R&B, shall we? I know I said this wasn't in any particular order, but I'm kind of like grouping it all together where it makes sense. Steve Lacy blew up this year, and then it blew up in his face, but you are lying if you say you dislike Bad Habits. That is one of the catchiest, most unanimously adored songs all year, and for good gosh darn reason. But I also love the closer of his album, Give You the World. SZA's comeback album this year did not disappoint at all. Blind makes me feel like I am floating in the clouds. And also Open Arms, Travis Scott had no business sounding that good on an instrumental acoustic ballad. August 08 was new to me this year, but I enjoyed a fair amount of his new album, Seasick, Cutlass being my favorite. It just has such a raunchy groove. A buddy of mine introduced me to Pink Sweats earlier this year, and I liked his whole Daniel Caesar Zayn vibe he kind of had going. Speaking of Daniel Caesar, Silk Sonic dropped a cover of Love Train, and boy did it ever go down smooth. All credit to Jaren for introducing me to Micah Edwards, but his album Gene Leon was absolutely beautiful. I thought Her Loss was a pretty good album. Drake was in desperate need of a pretty good album after a comical run of releases, but specifically, I mean, Broke Boys is undoubtedly the best song from that thing. It is my new gym song, my new driving song, my new anytime I want to feel untouchable. It's just my go-to song. Sticking with mainstream rap, Metro Boomin's Heroes and Villains did not disappoint whatsoever. That album was exactly what it was marketed as, an improved version of Not All Heroes Wear Capes in every regard. Stronger features, bigger production, just a solid release. I Know Nigo had some bangers, specifically the one with ASAP and Tyler. That one killed. Denzel Curry, Melt My Eyes, See Your Future was one of these standout rap albums this year for me. X-Wing is great, but I mean, Walkin' was like my go-to hype song for months after it came out. Redeeming. That right there. Don't Even Smoke. I thought Future's latest album was a little bloated, but it still had some bangers like 7:12 PM and Puffin' on Zooties. I feel weird talking about Tory Lanez, but his conviction does not change how crazy the drop of that opener is. Another touchy subject would be Takeoff, who was tragically murdered this year just weeks after his album with Quavo released, Only Built for Infinity Links, which I thought was the strongest Migos-related project since Culture One. So coming off that high to then waking up to that news on November 1st was a lot to process. I thought 2000 was a great follow-up to 1999. I love the sentiments of that album and the before and after that album provides for Joey Badass. It was cool to see his growth as an artist, but even though he's probably like a more skilled rapper now, I don't think he's ever going to top 1999. That album is flawless, and it's even crazier knowing he made it when he was 17. That still boggles my mind. Lastly, for rap, I would give a shout out to Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, although I am on the side that would consider it lesser than some of his other albums. I thought it was wildly ambitious, and I have a lot of respect for that, but he went so big on this project that it was always going to be tough to tie it in nicely, but there are a lot of fantastic songs here. I spent way longer on rap than I planned to. I gotta get this train moving. Shifting over to pop, I thought Post Malone's latest effort had its moments, even if the album on the whole is pretty up and down. It was crazy catchy, though. I was pretty underwhelmed with the new Harry Styles album, especially over time it really faded on me, but Matilda remains a fantastic ballad. A lot of people were really disappointed with Joji's new album Smithereens, but honestly, I'm happy with it. Is it shorter than I would have hoped? Yes. Is the back half anywhere as near as the good as the front?
Anywhere as near as the good as the front?
No. But those first 5 songs, man, that is such a perfect, 15 minutes of music. That can hold me over for several years, to be honest with you. Glimpse of Us is his best song ever, but Die For You gave it a real run for its money when that dropped. I heard that you're happy. It's true. Adam Melcher was one of my favorite discoveries from 2022. I became absolutely obsessed with his Melcher Lullaby Hotline Volume 1, and then he dropped Here Goes Nothing in October, and it became my shoulder to cry on. I love that album to death, Touch and Go specifically being my favorite. So the 1975 have always had remarkable songs, fantastic individual moments, but their newest album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language, is the first 1975 album that I've really enjoyed from front to back. And oh my, is Oh Caroline ever an earworm. That song was stuck in my head for so much of this year. Only one that rhymed. I keep forgetting Rex Orange County's latest album was this year. I feel identical to his project as I do the 1975. Alex has always had incredible songs like Corduroy Dreams and Pluto Projector, but Who Cares was the first album that I enjoyed as a whole complete package. I've rejected affection for you. David, or however you say his name, whatever you want to make of this, his Romantic Homicide absolutely blew up this year, but deservingly so. That song is incredible, as well as Here With Me. That was a really cute track as well. Lord Huron came through with another solid album, Long Lost. Montel Fish was a fascinating character to discover and follow this year. He was like an inspirational Christian commentator online who sort of caved under the pressures of success and isn't doubling back on his faith as much as he's just struggling to make sense of it. But he dropped 2 albums this year. Jamie, the first one, is just so pretty, so sad, so heartbreaking. But then Her Love Still Haunts Me Like a Ghost is this jarring, fascinating listen. It's just been interesting watching the music reflect his online downfall. I was a little late to it, but I really enjoyed what Always brought forth on their newest album, Blue Rev. 24/7, she lied. Stop for a minute and turn back the time. Josiah did it again on his full-length album Heart on Fire. Such a beautiful listen straight through. If you just want to escape your current life, listen to Letter by Letter. As I promised, the best has been reserved for last. I know I said Stick Season by Noah Kahan was my favorite album, all genre, but sometimes I go back and forth with this one in Stick Season. If it's not giving it a run for number 1, it's a very close second. Wasteland by Brent Faiyaz. Not only is this one of the most ambitious concept albums I've heard, but it's executed pretty much to perfection. The story is told perfectly over the beefy 19-song track list, but musically it holds up as well. The album does not drag whatsoever. The storytelling never comes at the expense of the music, but vice versa. Brent plays the character Chris, and the album is his move to LA and how fame and money changes him, all the while he's got a girlfriend and a baby on the way, and he's struggling to stay loyal, and he depicts this high life as a wasteland. I'm not going to spoil the plotline for you. If you want to know how it ends, you can go check it out, because it's legitimately like reading a book. You don't know what's going to happen, and that is so cool when an album can do that. The production on this album is skeletal and ominous. Brent's vocals absolutely shine. I love all the strings, just the high-class sounds of this album. It sounds wealthy. It sounds like clinking wine glasses and marble counters. The album is a vibe. That's what it is. You really do get wrapped up in this wasteland world he creates. Picking out highlights is tough because as corny as this sounds, they all deserve to be mentioned. But if I had to pick 3, I'm going Ghetto Gatsby with Alicia Keys, FYTB, aka Frick You Talking About with Junie, and then lastly, my favorite from the album, Rolling Stone, one of the most surreal, serene pieces of music. Rolling Stone with headphones on is like an out-of-body experience. This is my guy's Jagged Light.
rolling stone. If I hurt you, would you leave?
Are we all hearing those guitars and those
I
bells?
still got demons from my easy, but this fans watching.
Genius. The album's just genius. All right, that's how I can describe it. And that'll do it. That is everything else that I liked in 2022. Comment below the other stuff you enjoyed this past year. As always, if you enjoyed, a like really does help me out. If you're new, I generally talk about country music. If that's your thing, be sure to subscribe and go check out some of my other content, like my favorite country albums of 2022, which is conveniently now covering my face. Post-editor Evan, why have you added the video click on your face? Links to my Instagram, Discord, podcast, and Patreon can all be found in the description below if you want to check me out on those or support me over there. And yeah, until next time, I hope you guys